Okay, top 10 scary basement stories. Let's get right to it. Let's get right into this, guys.
Announcing and welcome back to another most amazing video. Before we get into today's video, I want to know, what is the scariest room in your house? Let me know what it is and why in the
My room.
comment section below. I'm pretty sure my entire
Okay? Okay.
host who likes to turn on TVs and open doors. So basements are dark, cold, and scary. No one really likes to go in them, especially if there are creepy noises and strange things that have happened there. So prepare to lock your basement doors. Like literally right now, pause this video, go lock your basement door because yeah, there are some creepy things down there. And be prepared for this list because this is the top 10 scary basement stories. Let's get things started here. In at number 10 with ghost children in the basement. A lot of people claim that their basements are haunted by evil spirits or ghosts that have unfinished business. Either way, it is extremely scary when you hear footsteps, screaming, or loud abrupt noises from the basement without any reasonable explanations. This is why when this happens, people install cameras with motion detection.
Okay, I'm not really creeped out or nothing, but I'm just need to go get something to drink or something, I don't know.
A drink? Hey, that's my drink I put me.
No, yours was on too. That's just my little sister. She won't be really bothering us. Now she's trying to blow you kisses through the freaking camera that has no camera on it. Okay. Let me take care of her.
I love you.
Love you too.
So they're able to get a notification when those mysterious and scary things happen in their basement. I stumbled across a really scary video of ghost children playing in someone's basement. Take a look for yourself. If this was me, I would never install a camera in the basement because I just don't want to know what's going on down there. But going back to the video, that was pretty creepy, so let's move on. Pet alligator bites its way into number 9. I've heard of a lot of people like to keep their pets in their homes, and sometimes they're kept in the basement. Why? I don't know. But this family isn't normal. On January of 2016, a repairman discovered a 6-foot, 200-pound alligator in the basement of a suburban home in Chicago. The alligator was their secret pet, who was sometimes taken out of his cage and put in the backyard. They had this alligator for 26 years without anyone ever knowing. The repairman was obviously stunned when he saw this monster alligator in the basement, so he called the police. They were able to remove the alligator, and the homeowners were charged with unlawful possession of an endangered species. I mean, is this real life right now? If I had an alligator in my basement... Okay, actually, let's stop it right there, because I would never have an alligator in my basement. But if I did, I would be fearing for my life every single day. I don't got time for that. I don't care that he's in a cage. They have insanely strong jaws that can easily break through, like, the little fencing. I think I would rather have a dog or a rabbit as a pet, and not a man-eating machine. I'm just gonna put that out there. Giant torpedo fires in at number 8. It's normal for a lot of people to store their belongings in the basement, right? Well, apparently the previous homeowners was really into weapons of mass destruction because the family discovered that they had a torpedo in their basement. How did the realtor miss this one? Oh, don't look over there. Buy this house because of this part of the basement is safe. This is the good part of the basement. Well, they were a little skeptic that this thing was authentic, so they had a consultation with an Army veteran who told them that it was used with either a motor or a lightweight anti-tank weapon, and that it was live. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but it is time to grab your kids, grab your wife, and get the heck out of there. Eventually, an explosive ordnance disposal unit came in to remove the deadly bomb. This is why you should get your house inspected, before you buy it, because there might be a potential missile in your basement. Okay, it's not likely that this will ever happen to you guys, but let's move on into number 7, and this takes us over to creepy skeletons in the basement. The internet broke when a story about a creepy looking skeletons were found in a basement under an orphanage in London. These scary looking creatures looked like dead fairies, werewolves, and aliens that were preserved in glass jars. Imagine seeing this. Their flesh had been rotting away, and some of their wings were nailed to a display board. To make things even scarier, there was also sketches of the Jack the Ripper victims next to the real human heads and other organs that were well preserved. These nightmare objects were discovered by a bunch of construction workers who were doing some repairs on the home. They found several thousand small wooden boxes that were tightly sealed. So imagine how shocked they were when they first opened up the box. These extremely creepy corpses belonged to Thomas Theodore Maryland, who was known as a prominent biologist in the 1800s. If I was working that day, I would run out of the house so damn fast, I would probably beat Usain Bolt in a race. And I would definitely be asked to never work in basements ever again. It would be in my contract. So it looks like here you don't want to work in any basements. Why? Yeah, you don't want to know. A secret room makes its way into number 6. In 2015, a man bought a house for a really good bargain because the previous house owners had passed away and the house was slightly run down. After 2 weeks since he moved in, he decided to do some cleaning in the basement. That's where he went wrong. There was a lot of junk left over from the previous owners, and when he went to move a piece of plywood, he discovered that there was a secret hidden room. If you guys found a secret hidden room in your basement, would you guys go check it out? I know for me the answer is hell no. At this point he was a little bit scared to go in the room, but he decided to take a look around. He immediately saw a bunch of gun boxes that had been emptied and a safe that wasn't able to open. On the next day of exploring, he found a lot of ammunition and other military-related items. During his search in this creepy secret room, he told the internet that he hired a locksmith who would be coming in the next day to open the safe and that he would update his blog with whatever he discovered. However, he never did update them. He disappeared for a couple of years and just recently posted an update saying he said that he experienced some strange events and he no longer lives in the house and has no intentions of telling anyone what he found in that safe. So I don't know what was in there, but if I found something scary, I wouldn't tell no one either. Locked in at number 5 is an underground prison. This story shocked the world when Ariel Castro was arrested for keeping these women imprisoned as sex slaves, and he kept them in prison for over a decade in his basement. Each of these women were kidnapped after they accepted a ride from him. This is why you don't take a ride from strangers. He drove them to his house, lured them inside, then he took them to the basement and restrained them. They forced them to use plastic toilets that weren't emptied often. They were fed only one meal a day, and they could only shower twice a week. The girls kept diaries of their horrific experience, and they would talk about the abuse, being locked in a dark room, chained to a wall, and someday returning to their family. On May the 8th, 2013, he was charged with 4 counts of kidnapping and 3 counts of rape. He pleaded guilty and took a plea bargain, so he was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years in prison without the possibility of parole. But 1 month into his sentence, he actually committed suicide by hanging himself with bed sheets in his prison cell. Teenage boy held captive in a basement sadly comes onto this list at number 4. Armando de Andrade disappeared when he was only 16 years old, but he was discovered by police 20 years later. He was being held captive for 20 years in the basement of his father and stepmother. There were no windows or light fixtures, and when police found him, he had a beard that has grown down to his knees. He also had very long fingernails, severely malnourished, and was extremely traumatized. Can you imagine living in pitch black? Okay, so for example, kind of right now, I'm a little bit scared filming this video right now, guys. I couldn't imagine living 20 years like this. I mean, it's extremely dark right now. You guys can barely see me. I would definitely go insane. I think this is worse than solitary confinement. I would be freaking out. So you know what? Let's turn the lights back on. Okay, that's a lot better. The police chief said that when they entered the basement, they were initially searching for drug gang members, but they stumbled upon Armando. The basement floor was covered in human feces, and the poor boy was very impaired and wasn't able to speak. It is believed that his parents decided to lock him up in the basement because they started to heavily drink alcohol, and they told his friends that they moved to another part in Brazil and that he's doing good. After he was rescued, he was taken to a psychiatric hospital in hopes that he can recover from this traumatizing event.
The police discovered 36-year-old Armando Andrade when they were on a drug raid Sunday evening. They accidentally entered a family home and discovered Andrade in a filthy, stinking basement.
Number 3 brings us to the basement
Crazy.
murderer. Gary Michael
what?
Heidnik kidnapped, tortured, and raped 6 women, killing 2 of them while holding them prisoners in his basement in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Going back to November 25th, 1986, he abducted a woman, and by January 1987, he had kidnapped 4 other women. He held them all captive in the pit of his basement, where they underwent extremely violent forms of torture. One of the women died from a combination of starvation, torture, and an untreated fever. He dismembered her body and put her arms and legs in his freezer and labeled them as dog food. According to some rumors, he would ground up his first victim's flesh, mix it with dog food, and feed it to the other girls. His favorite form of torture was using electrical shocks, and he used to duct tape their mouths and stab them in their ears with a screwdriver. Once he was finally arrested, he tried to take an insanity plea, but thankfully he was sentenced to death by lethal injections. So we don't have to worry about this, crazy guy ever again. The House of Horror terrifies us in at number 2, Joseph Fritzl. Well, he appeared to be a well-respected family man and successful engineer. But what a lot of people didn't know was he began to abuse his 11-year-old daughter and decided to keep her locked up in his basement away from the outside world. He made his own large cellar basement underneath his home that had a reinforced door and soundproofing. That's where his daughter lived, without any daylight for the next 24 years. During her imprisonment, she was raped by her father over 3,000 times. She gave birth to 7 children, 7 incest. So I guess they became her